Good morning, everyone. I'm Lefteris Garofalakis. I'm the EC Digital Solutions Category Lead for HP. I come from Greece. I'm really glad to be here among you. It's the first time I've been in Romania, and I'm really delighted about this. However, I will tell you the truth, I'm looking forward for this event to wrap up, so I will have my time to explore the city. And sorry about this. So, what we're going to see today, you know HP as one of the greatest, if not the greatest vendor when it comes to hardware. Today we'll see something totally different. We are going to discuss about HP solutions. And when I say solutions, I'm not referring to just support or break and fix or whatever comes with the hardware. We are about to talk about something far, far more advanced. All the solutions that you are going to see today are HP owned. So we're not talking about collaboration with other software vendors. We're talking about HP investing on certain solutions, and many of them, and owned solutions. Okay, so this means flexibility for us. And we'll see many things around them. So, today in my session, I'm going to deep dive on 4 certain digital solutions that, in my perspective, represent, let's say, a significant shift for the modern IT. We are going to discuss about Workforce Experience Platform, an endpoint management tool, and we are going to talk about security, HP Wolf Security, along with its surroundings, let's say, HP SureClick Enterprise, HP Protect and Trace with Wolf Connect. So, the objective of my session today is not to give you a generic product overview. The point here is to give you insights around the architecture, the telemetry behind, the AI enablement, the remediation, the automation, and all the things that make these solutions different from what the competition has to offer. The main argument is that, as I said, modern management is shifting. This means that we're not just talking about asset management, managing the assets, but the point now is to see how we can continuously monitor and assess the entire fleet. And this can be done through certain AI algorithms, through certain AI models, and through certain remediation processes. So if I could, let's say, give a brief about my session today, is one that HP is shifting the way we work today. And we'll see what I mean with this. Okay, so let's start with the problem. Till now, IT departments are managing the assets by inventorying, by patching, by antivirus, by remote control, and by ticketing. Of course, these functions are very necessary. However, these functions are sufficient when the... works? Okay. Okay. So, as I said, are sufficient when the employees, the end users, are office-based, when the applications are easy control. This has changed. This is not the case anymore, and this is no longer enough. Today, the endpoint is the place where the employee is experiencing the company. What does this mean? That slow performance, low battery health, or Wi-Fi incidents, or instability, or VPN issues, or even security prompts are not just technical incidents. These mean cost, and when I say cost, I mean productivity cost, I mean support cost, and I mean frustration from the end users. So, the point here is that we have to find a way to balance this. At the same time, the endpoints are becoming the layers with the most attacks. And this doesn't only rely on what we say till now, that the employees are the weakest links on our organization. No, this is not just the case. We are talking about far more advanced threats at the moment. So we're talking about phishing, we are talking about malicious attachments, we're talking about weaponized documents, we're talking about living off the land, as we say, techniques, TPM bus probing, something that we'll see and discuss later on, and many, many more quite difficult attacks, even when we discuss about post-quantum threats. And this is something that I'm going to discuss later with you and see what HP has to offer on this thing. Even when we have incidents like stolen devices or lost devices, we have to understand that all these incidents converge into one thing, the PC. Okay, so we have to find a way to balance, let's say, these incidents. And we have two ways to do that. The first one, to give a better experience to the employees, to the end user, and the second is to create a stronger protection layer. The first one is coming through WXP. So WXP addresses what has to do with intelligence and experience, and the other things comes from HP Wolf Security and all the offerings of HP on cybersecurity that address things like threat containment, isolation, hardware enforced protection, TPM guard, endpoint security controller, and whatever has to do with post-quantum cryptography. So, the important point that I want you to keep from this introduction is that these two layers are not distinct, are not independent. The experience and the protection are two layers that need to be combined so as to find a way to balance all these incidents. So let us move now to WXP. WXP is the AI-enabled digital employee experience platform of HP. It is designed so as to give a full visibility of the entire fleet of an organization. And when I say the entire fleet, I mean everything. PCs, laptops, docking stations, printers, and when I say printers, I don't mean a separate software that can combine with WXP. Since we have separate softwares to watch the printers, here we're talking about a dashboard, a controller that monitors the printers, and not just monitors the printers, can push policies or trigger updates. So the most important thing is that this is something unique. HP gives the visibility of everything, even virtual machines, even mobile phones, even tablets. Okay, and we're talking about a vendor-agnostic and OS-agnostic tool. So you don't have to have HP devices, although you have, because they are the best. However, even if you have other devices from other vendors, yeah, we can watch them, we can monitor them through WXP. So, this is quite different approach from what we have experienced till now from other endpoint management tools. UMs and MDMs, Unified Endpoint Management Tools, and mobile device management tools are mostly focusing on compliance, on policy, on application deployment, and things like that. But they neglect totally what comes from the experience of the employees, what is called the sentiment analytics. And it's something that we are going to see later on. So, other things that they neglect to see, for example, whether devices, according to the conditions we face at the moment, are about to be refreshed. Which are these devices? Which are, for example, the BIOS or the driver's updates that correlate to certain crashes? So many different things that come from AI analysis that we'll see later on. And I'm stating these points because they are quite significant so as to understand the latest slides of my presentation. So, WXP sits more on the DEX, the Digital Employee Experience Layer. This means that it utilizes certain AI algorithms, telemetry, we'll discuss about telemetry and all the data models, so as to give us predictions, to give us insights on how the end users are experiencing the engagement with the endpoint. And this is quite critical because, as you know, you are not HR departments. You are not going to each employee and ask what are the problems you face at the moment. You have this tool and you can control and monitor this. So, this is, let's say, a slide that shows how many solutions behind WXP are working at the moment. HP has a portfolio of around 60 plus different services and solutions at the moment, that starting from the factory level all the way up till the refreshment of the device. So we are talking about the whole trajectory, but solutions that have to do with configuration, that have to do with support, that have to do with digital solutions, with managed solutions, with security, and so on, and so on and so forth. So this is how WXP, let's say, started. But if we think of WXP architecturally, we'll see that there are 4 layers that we need to address. These layers are the telemetry layer, the analytics layer, the intelligence layer, and the action layer. And this is quite important. So when we talk about telemetry, what are we talking about? We're talking about the gathering of all the incidents, of all the information, of all the raw data around devices. So we are gathering millions, billions of informations, of signals from million devices out there, so we can create a benchmark out of how these devices and platforms need to work, so as to be, let's say, optimized. This is quite important. So we have the signals. Then we go to the next step. The next layer is the analysis layer. And here, let's say, the fun begins. Why? Because just having the signals doesn't give us the full story. We need to combine or to join all these signals so as to come to an outcome. If we combine all the signals, we can create features, we can create conditions, and this can lead afterwards to prediction. So, for example, if we have a battery that is degrading, okay, this is an issue, but this is not a critical issue. However, if you combine this, for example, with recurring complaints from the end user, or let's say the charging capacity, and if we compare that to the design capacity, yes, probably there we have a totally different risk profile. So the third layer is the intelligence ones. And this is where AI is being incorporated. We are going to discuss a lot about AI, and I'm not talking about hype AI, we're talking about details regarding AI. So this is where we have, let's say, the combination of the data, we have some conditions, and we try to find a way of how to predict, how to use algorithms so as to come to a prediction. And prediction is totally different from inference. And I will discuss about this because, as you know, many vendors out there claim that they can offer prediction. However, prediction is probably not what they really want to say. After the intelligence stage, we come to the last one, which is the action layer. The action layer is where the decisions are made. We have all the signals. We have combination of these signals. This leads to predictions. Now we have to correlate these predictions, these inferences, because we use both, with certain actions. What are we going to do to prevent something that haven't even occurred at the moment? So we are predicting that something is going to happen in the next 3 months. The battery is going to crash, so we plan to replace it before the event happens. Why telemetry matters and why I give such attention to this. If we have shallow telemetry, this means shallow recommendations. And what do I mean about that? If we just know that these devices exist, and these devices have this certain, let's say, OS, or this application list, okay, we can go for asset management. But we cannot go for predictive strategy of predictive operations. This is something totally different. When we discuss about predictive analytics, we are talking about the employment of totally different signal categories. And I will explain what I mean with this. If we have just the signals, this is, let's say, or the warnings, and this is something, the alerts, as we say, is something that almost all vendors, and I'm talking about software vendors, can provide. But a warning without a recommendation is just noise, okay? It just provides concerns and nothing more. On the other hand, if we have the signals, if we have the events, and we know what is coming, and we know how to act, we have the recommended actions, then this is operational value. And this is very important. And this is what WXP is offering at the moment. So let's see a video to understand a bit better what it's all about, and we'll continue after this. So, as I said before, WXP sees it all. There is nothing we cannot control through WXP. And as you can see in the text below, regardless OS, regardless vendor. So, if we talk about telemetry and how we come to rescoring, it's time to talk about models. And this is, for me, really important. You will see that I talk a lot about predictive analytics, because I believe this is one of the most important factors of WXP and one of the differentiator factors that we have to present here. And it's really important to understand the distinction between prediction and inference. Analytics starts with telemetry ingestion. So we gather the information. Then this information information is cleaned and normalized and converted to features. But what exactly do we mean by features in predictive analytics? Features, I could say that it is the machine-readable representation of a condition. And what does this mean? I can understand from the conditions that I face what is coming, very simply. And if I have features, I can proceed to the next level. And the next level is the data models. HP doesn't disclose neither the AI algorithms, neither the data models that are being used in WXP. However, we can explain some data models that are being utilized in WXP so as to understand what we're talking about. When we talk about data models, we're talking about classification. So we group the PCs into certain groups. Critical incidents with no critical incidents or with low critical incidents. Then it's the regression model. The regression models gives us estimates about continuous values. So for example, here we're talking about the expected degradation of a battery. Then is the time series analysis. So what is happening over time? For example, a battery is degrading faster than others. Why this happens? Then we come to anomaly detection. What are the behaviors that need our attention? What we have to do if we see something that is strange and it's different from what we expected. And it's clustering. Clustering, we have to group these behaviors into certain categories so as for the next level to come the recommendation logic to see what are the actions that we are going to correlate with these behaviors. Probably, I'm talking a lot about this, but for me, it's really important to understand how prediction works. This is, let's say, the dashboard, how it looks in WXP. There are many metrics on WXP that have to do with performance health, with device performance, with sentiment analytics, with OS performance, with compliance and security context, with life cycle context. So we have everything. We have an experience score up there that we'll see in the next slide. This is a numerical score that shows, let's say, what's happening in our fleet. What are the main critical incidents that we want to track? We're talking about sentiment analytics, we're talking about performance, we're talking about health, we're talking about certain things that we have to encounter. And all these metrics are interactive. I can click on each red line and see all the devices that have issues and problems, and identify the groups that I want, let's say, to remediate. So, this is another view of some of the metrics that we have on WXP. WXP has thousands of metrics, and it's totally customizable. We can customize the dashboard according to our needs. So we have many, many widgets, and we can see what we need to track, what is important for us. But one more thing that is very critical and very important, and we didn't mention, is the thing, the AI incorporation behind WXP. And we see something that is very, very interesting. WXP is not here to work against the other ITSM tools. It's here to complement them. And this is quite important. We don't go to an organization and say, okay, we have WXP, get rid of Intune, let's say. No, we don't want that. We want to work together. That's why we have so many instant integrations. These are some of the integrations we have, and you can see them on the menu on the left side, where is a tab, integrations. These are the ones that are instant integrations. This means that if I click one of these icons, I will be guided to totally integrate with this tool. So you can see ServiceNow, Tableau, Entra ID, Splunk, Power BI, Jira, and there are almost 600 open APIs so as to integrate with all the ITSM tools out there. And this is where AI begins. This is the Labs tab on the menu. You see here 3 features that HP has to offer at this time that are fully AI incorporated. And what does this mean? Behind this, there are LLMs and LLPs. ChatGPT, Claude, Anthropic, OpenAI that work as ChatGPT Pro. So if we don't want, let's say, to see the dashboard and see all the incidents and the widgets out there, and we want to identify and detect a certain event. For example, what are the apps with the most crashes the last 30 days? We can go to the Fleet Explorer, type the question, start a conversation with the LLM behind this, and come to the source of the problem. So this is a totally AI-enabled querying. It can go as deep as we want, and we can identify trends that probably it would take more time to identify through the widgets. The second thing we see here is the Smart Refresh. Smart Refresh is AI-enabled as well. It gives us, let's say, according to certain conditions and incidents, the devices that need to be refreshed, and it gives us recommendations with which devices to replace them. This is quite important, especially now with all these shortages and all the prices going up. If we want, let's say, to replace a whole fleet, this is a huge cost. With this application, we can see only the devices that need to be refreshed according to certain conditions that is not only age or warranty expiration. It may be thousands of different reasons. And we have the recommendation with which platform to replace it. I talked a bit earlier, and I really want to mention this, about inference and prediction. For me, this is really important because there's a hype out there. Prediction asks the question of what is likely to happen and when. On the other hand, inference answers the question why this is happening, what are the conditions combined that led to this. WXP uses both because prediction needs inference. Inference doesn't need prediction. Prediction can give us, let's say, an insight that something is coming, but we don't know when this is coming. Prediction gives us a certain point in time that, for example, we have to replace our batteries, we have to replace our hard disk. So we know, for example, through WXP that when we have an alert, a prediction on battery, this means that in the next 3 months, we have to replace them, we have to plan to replace them, otherwise we are going to have productivity loss. The same happens with hard disks and the fan, and there are many more to come. So when we hear about prediction, try to figure out if we're talking about inference or prediction. Here, we know that we have prediction. This is what I said around the LLMs and LLPs and all the algorithms that are being used in WXP. Of course, except LLMs and LLPs, there are many other algorithms that are being used. SVMs, vector machines, nearest neighbors, linear regression, random forest, many of them. But one other point around AI algorithms. It's not about the algorithm that we use. For example, we may use SVM and KNN, and for the same data set, for the same training set, to have a totally different prediction. It's not wrong, but it's because the certain algorithms see it in another way. And I mention this because it's really important to understand that HP has invested a lot behind this. There's a huge team who works around AIs, developing algorithms and data models so as to have the better accuracy and prediction and the less entropy we can have when it comes to AI. Some of the foundation capabilities around WXP, I'm not going to go step by step. Most of them I have already discussed. For me, it's really important to understand, let's say, the whole picture behind WXP. We're talking here about detection, prioritization, and remediation. Detect the problem, prioritize what is critical and need to be addressed, and remediate. And we are talking about remediation. We are talking about triggering, as I said, BIOS and drivers updates, pushing policies or scripts, PowerShell, bus, remediation, automated remediation, for example, if we need to enable in some devices the BitLocker or the Secured Boot. This can be automated. So we have a huge, let's say, gallery of certain scripts, certain policies, and of course, we can add our own so as to proceed. So just to recap around WXP, it's a tool that gives us visibility of the whole fleet. It incorporates the employee sentiments, and this is something I didn't discuss a lot. When we mean employee sentiments and user experience, through WXP, we can convey, we can conduct surveys to the endpoints, surveys that may include closed questions, closed answers. For example, how do you rate this app from 1 to 5? This is something simple, although behind this it's AI as well. And the most important thing is that we can create open questions. So, for example, if we ask what are the apps that generated the most crashes during last week, 100 people will probably get even 100 different answers. How do we analyze this? Behind WXP are what we call BERT algorithms that can analyze open text. So from this text, we can lead to the source, the root cause, the trends behind all the answers, and end up to a prediction or an action to be done. So AI is a journey behind WXP, and not only behind WXP. We are going to discuss, I don't have many minutes because I can talk about this for hours, but we are going to see that in security we're utilizing AI as well. And don't forget that your customer insights is your blueprint. You can find very interesting things when you discuss with your end users. You cannot do that with each and every one of them, but you can do that through DEX tools, digital employee experience tools like WXP. So, security. How many of you know that HP has its own security portfolio, not a collaboration with other vendors? Okay. Okay, so yes, HP has a history of around 20 years in security. And when we say security, we're referring only to endpoint security and not to the whole, let's say, the whole layers of security in an organization. But the point here is to understand that when we talk about security, we have to go one step behind and see what is the risk, how we are going to manage risk. We see organizations in HP that are getting all the security tools out there without having done an assessment on what exactly they need so as to be more and more secure. Wolf Security is a full next-generation EDR, okay, that utilizes many certain things, many initiatives that you will see, and probably most of them you will see for the first time. What is really important for Wolf Security is what is called the hardware and force protection. And this is something we can do because we are the manufacturer of the hardware. This means that we place a microchip in the hardware that controls certain security features. And this is placed on the microchip and is something that nobody else can do because they don't create machines. We'll discuss further about this. The main point around Wolf Security is three things. It's the below the BIOS protection, and when we mean below the BIOS, we are talking about the early stage BIOS, the low code, the firmware, something that most of the softwares out there cannot protect. And just for your information, a couple of months ago, Kaspersky revealed a malware, probably it was, let's say, researched many months ago, called Kinadu, which attacks the firmware, the device firmware. And you know that if someone can manipulate the BIOS or the low code below the BIOS, then we are doomed. We can do anything. So this is the one important thing, and this comes from the endpoint security controller, the microchip, as I said, that is placed in the chipset. The second thing is endpoint isolation. We're talking about micro-virtualization. HP, in 2019, acquired Bromium. Bromium was the first company that implemented virtual machines in security. And what we mean about virtual machines, we're not talking about virtual desktops. We're talking about something very light, something that opens by default, and although it has almost the same architecture as sandboxing, is different, because sandboxing is something that needs, let's say, to assess the malware in another environment, detonate it, and see if it's malicious or not. The endpoint isolation means that we have a virtual machine that starts from the core till the browser. So we have a certain isolated environment by default that opens certain tasks like the emails, like the attachments, like the PDFs, like the links. So even if there's a malware, doesn't affect the system. When we close the virtual machine, the malware is being destroyed as well. Another game changer in security is what we call the Protect and Trace Wolf Connect. I know that there are many softwares out there, and even Intune can proceed to find, log, erase the data of a PC if it's lost or stolen. However, to do so, they need two conditions: the machine to be online, the machine to be powered on. We can do that even if this condition doesn't exist. So even if the machine cannot boot, even if the machine is closed or offline, we can do that. And how we do that, this happens only to HP machines, because we place an antenna in the machine and an eSIM, so this works like a mobile phone. So we can have connection, and we can do that whenever we want. And this is something unique at the moment. Two more things. Endpoint security controller, we're talking about post-quantum threats. You will say that, do we have quantum computing? Yes. It's something that will come in the future. However, probably you heard this, some weeks ago, a researching team in China with a quantum computer called Zhuzhang, they managed to solve a problem that a hypercomputer could solve in years, and they did that in 4 seconds. So if you say that quantum computing is far away, no, it's not. Endpoint security controller is the microchip inside the chipset. This means that it assesses the integrity of the firmware. And how does it do that? With digital signatures. The digital signatures that are being used at the moment are mostly the Edwards and the elliptic curve. We are going to the next level, and we're talking about module and hash-based algorithms that even the NIS2 is referring to. So we are one step ahead from everyone else. This is something unique. And the last one, and I'm finished, is the TPM guard. So we all know what the TPM is. We all know what TPM does. However, I don't know how many of us know that there's a connection between the TPM and the CPU. And this is the bus, this is a channel, this is the link that can be, let's say, manipulated. If we take the machine, open the machine, it's really easy to intervene between these two and stall and have access to all the keys, even to the BitLocker key. And you can imagine how difficult, how things are going to be after we do that. So what HP does here is the encryption of this channel. So if anyone intervenes, cannot steal the keys, and even if he can do that, the connection is inoperable. It cannot work. And this is something unique when it comes to TPM. That's all. I said many, many things. If you want to discuss something further, I will be at the booth with the HP team. Thank you so much. Sorry if I take it too long, but I believe that you heard some things that you never heard before. Thank you so much.